Darling callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Good afternoon, Wisdom fans. My name is Bruce Gilbert, and this is the Wisdom Show, and we have a great show for you today. Let's take care of some little wisdom business. We are a product of Tom's Radio, capital T, capital O, capital M, small z radio. That is Tom's trademark of multiculturalism. We're located at 3768 Bathurst Street, room 308, North York. We'd like you to like and subscribe at worldwideweb.tomsradio.com. If you want to participate in our discussion, and I'm only a little bit short of begging, please call 416-900-5864. I'm happy to say this is our 6th episode, and we are getting better and better and more viewers every week. And with your help, we will get a star in Hollywood. Any rate, we're doing chapter 5 of the Wisdom, chapter 5 of the book of Proverbs. And I should just tell you, frankly, what the agenda is of the show. I think in the 20th century, the 21st century, there's lots of knowledge around, but I don't think there's enough wisdom around. And if you ask people to define a quaint, old-fashioned word like dignity, respect, wisdom, honor, I don't think you'll get it. You may get it from old-timers, you may get it from some military people, but you won't get it from the rank-and-file masses of the college campuses or people like me who are products of public school. I don't mean to be maybe I do mean to be incendiary by dissing certain groups. The Wisdom Show hopes to fill a void, and our slogan is, "You'll be better off wise than woke." Now, chapter 5, I should also introduce the book of Proverbs.
What about me?
You're
You have to introduce me.
You're coming.
You invited me, and now you have to introduce me. That's the way it goes.
But I want to introduce you when I finish the introduction show. Okay. So go hide in the corner. The scrolls. We're in the deepest, darkest scroll room right now, broadcasting, and the scroll we selected to go through is the biblical book of Proverbs, and we're on chapter 5. It's reported to be written by King Solomon. It's about 3,000 years old, and it is largely appreciated as the greatest book of wisdom in the world in any language. So let's go through it and see it. I want to show two things. As I mentioned, wisdom, also depth in text, because I don't think the best stuff in English has depth in text. The Hebrew language has multiple wordplay. You can have one sentence and have several different meanings, and it's all the nuance. That's what makes it, that's where we're going to mine for deeper insights into human character from this book. So the book of Proverbs is divided into 31 chapters. Each chapter is about a page long. I encourage you to look online or to buy a book. Buy a book with commentaries better. And I'm going to read chapter 1, and then we're going to come back through it. And after I read it, I'm going to introduce our guest presenter. So hang on to your seats. Chapter 5. My child, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding. To heed wise designs, and let your lips safeguard knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drip honey, and her palate is smoother than oil. But her end is as bitter as wormwood, as sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet descend to death. Her footsteps come near by the grave. lest you liken the path of life to hers. Her courses wander astray, you cannot know. And now, my children, listen to me, and do not stray from the word of my mouth. Distance your way from her, and do not come near the door of her house, lest you give your glory to others and your remaining years to the cruel one. Lest strangers be sated with your strength, and your painfully earned wealth be in a stranger's house. You will groan at your life's end when your flesh and your body perish. Then you will say, how could I have hated discipline, and my heart spurned reproof? I have not listened to the voice of my masters. I have not inclined my ear to my teachers. For a pittance of enjoyment I was into everything evil, in the presence of a congregation and assembly. Drink water from your own cistern and flowing water from your own well. Let me just interject. I want you to focus on the words, because you'll see has redundancies, and our agenda is to search out what that redundancy means. So here, drink water from your own cistern and flowing water from your own well. So the question is, what's the difference between a flowing well and a stream and so on? Then your springs will spread outward, streams of water into the thoroughfares or plazas. They will be yours alone, strangers not sharing with you. Your sources will be blessed, and you will rejoice with the wife of your choice. A beloved hind, or deer, inspiring favor. Her breasts will sate you at all times. You will always be intoxicated with her love. Why then, my son, should you err with a strange woman and embrace an alien bosom? For a man's ways are opposite God's eyes, and he weighs all his courses. His own iniquities will ensnare the wicked one, and he will be suspended in the cords or the ropes of his sins. He will die for refusing discipline, and because of the abundant foolishness with which he erred. That's it? Yeah, that's it. And also, my apologies, I left my reading glasses on my desk at home, so I've got the distance glasses, so please, my apologies for erring. Now, I'll introduce my dear friend David Altman. David and I have known each other for probably since our early teens, so maybe going into 55 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're two people over 60. But good luck with that. Anyway, David is a landlord, real estate investor, and a part-time scholar. And David, to my delight, has shown that a generation ago it was harder to do research because you didn't have the internet, and now David can sit at home and come up with stuff that the previous generation couldn't access. You couldn't go to 3 different libraries around the world a generation ago. You could go to one if you were a scholar. Dave can do it all on the dining room table. So Dave's done research. He's presenting chapter 5 of the book of Proverbs, and I look forward in all seriousness, with bated breath, to hear what my friend has come up for us. David, is that a good introduction?
Well, when you have an introduction like that, you have to put out. You'd only hope that you can, but let's do our best.
Look, you brought your glasses, so you're doing your best.
Let's start off with the beginning of Mishlei, of the 5:1. You didn't read that part, 5:1, but
I skipped a line?
Yeah, you skipped 2.
Unbelievable.
It's my son, be attentive to my wisdom, incline your ears to my understanding. Learn to retain the underlying considerations and let your lips keep the knowledge. Right? Now, here's the thing. What have you tried to teach your kids in your life? Right? You try to teach your kids something, they don't listen. They don't listen, right? How do you get your kids to listen? That's a question I'm asking you, Bruce. Like, for instance, it says, my son, be attentive to my wisdom, incline your ear to my understanding. Suppose I was lying in my bed. This is a Reb Noach thing. Suppose you're lying in your bed, and a force. Oh, a force comes to your window, a light, and the window slowly opens up, and there's a giant hand, and the hand lifts you up, and it takes you around the world. It takes you around the world, and then it says, "My son, be attentive to my wisdom, incline your ear to my understanding." You're going to listen to that guy, right?
Yes.
You're going to listen to that guy, right?
Yeah.
Your dad maybe no, right? But finally, this is Reb Noach's thing. Finally, when you say to the force, you say, "Who are you? What are you?" Right? And he says, "I am a giant frog." Right? All of a sudden, he's lost everything. You have no respect, right? No respect. You know.
We are not going to listen to any damn giant frogs around here. No way.
You know, for my 18th birthday, I wanted to be an actor. My mother, she gave me a book on Shakespeare, right? And in the introduction, she writes, "David, I tried, but I failed." I tried to get you to be disciplined. I tried to get you to do this, but I failed, right? So the question is, how do you get your kids to listen, right? Because that's the whole idea. You know, if you really want to take this seriously, and if you really understand where it's coming from, it's just as great a force as came to your window and took you backwards and forward in time. The exact same power is telling you how to live a wise life, and you should listen, right? And you should take it seriously, you know?
You know, there's an interesting thing when I talk to many people, they reference the book of Proverbs is great for teenagers, but I don't need that. They're talking about adults say that. That's like mistake number one from the first page, that you're not so wise, you need to listen.
Exactly. And they tell me something. When you're learning, it's one of the greatest things to learn something. They tell you how to learn here. Okay? It says the learning must be clear enough to be articulated and remembered. What is the point in you learning something if you can't articulate it, if I can't explain it? That's why teachers know everything, because they've taught it, right? You know, just to learn wisdom is not enough. You have to be able to articulate it, and then you can retain it. So that's my point.
Very good. Okay, le mot de l'Aimé. You got to learn it in order to teach it from Pirkei Avos 6:6. Okay.
So now we'll continue.
Have you answered your own question?
I don't know how to get my kids to listen. I can just by honestly and truly, your kids by your behavior. If I behave, my daughter happens to be particularly kind. You know, she's seen acts of kindness from her father, so she's particularly kind, but she doesn't listen to anything else. But it's just that happens to be a good quality of mine. So she's managed to keep it.
You know, for those who are listening on live, if you want to phone in and tell us how you think you can get your kids to listen to you, now's a great time. If you can get Altman's kids to listen to me, that wouldn't be bad either.
But if you understand, if you have awe at what you're reading, King Solomon's wisdom, you'll understand that, you have to pay attention to it because it's really important. How many people at the end of their lives would say to you, if only I did this in my life,
Oh, God. Everyone, all my friends who I talk to, career errors comes up all the time.
Career errors,
relationship
errors.
Oh, yeah.
And all you had to do is start off from the front, from the beginning in a proper way with knowledge, and you would never have taken that route. Right?
If I had to do it over again, I would have been the biggest brown noser in school, hitting the books all the time from an early age. If I had to do it all over again. That's my regret. And davening. The mystical experience of prayer is what I'm lacking. It's not in my character, but if I had to do it over again, that's where I would concentrate my efforts. It's with regret. I say that with regret.
Well, it's I had relatives that they insisted that their children become doctors.
Yeah.
So basically, these kids were forced in a room to learn. That's part of the thing to help your kids discipline.
Right.
There's the parents who
I've heard of how would I say it? Learning spatula being hit on the head was the greatest visual aid they ever had.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're talking about the evil inclination, the desire to take you away from the proper and good path.
The metaphor I always use is the bakery. Walking past the bakery, and I know I shouldn't go in, but look at that thing in the window, and I know I'm on a diet, and look, it's got sugar, it's got cinnamon, it's got chocolate. I don't even know what its name is, but I know I want to have it.
You know you want it, right?
I know I want it. Yeah.
Well,
I want to keep this as a family show. We could go into other examples, but
well, here they call the desire for bad things the ultimate fraud. The ultimate fraud.
is there a particular sentence that you're referring to?
The ultimate well, it's just, for instance, the fact that the lips dripping with honey
Right.
are so appealing.
Right.
It's
a hell of a metaphor.
it's a fraud. It's a fraud. And there was a Reb Nachman book. And he's got a guy called the jokester. The sort of the Satan, right? The jokester. And the jokester, he holds something in his hands and he's shaking it around. And everybody's looking at his hand. What's in his hand, right?
Yeah.
And he shakes it around and he says, I got great stuff in my hand. And everybody's looking, what's in my hand? But then when you open up his hand, there's nothing in his hand, right? That was his parable, Reb Nachman, for that, you know? And
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I don't want to go off topic, and I do want to go off on that.
Okay.
My favorite Reb Nachman, how do you describe him? A 17th century, 18th century rabbi who built a following of mystical, practical teachings. I guess that's the best. Around Breslov, I don't know. Breslau is another name for that town in Europe. In Eastern
Unbelievable. Europe. He has a whole following, and he died at 37. He died at a very, very young age.
So let me tell you my reference. There's one story where he's describing to someone, put your hand out there. Now, there's a mountain back there 20 miles away. You can see the mountain where your hand's not visible. If you put your hand up, you can't see the mountain. By putting your arrogance and putting yourself forward is covering up the mountain.
Oh, you mean like you're
seeing your hand. You're not even seeing the mountain.
It's a whole mountain, but you're covering it up.
You're concealing the mountain. He said that's people's problem with spirituality. They can't even see the mountain. They can't see the Almighty. They can't. And you can use that reference to anything. I find it relates to arrogance. Not bad, huh? Okay.
Yeah. We were talking again. Just another story is about the ultimate fraud. Is one of the basic stories that you hear is there was a man in a certain town that he became enamored with a courtesan, right? He became enamored with a courtesan, and he was so enamored with her.
Wait, courtesan is a hooker?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine. Thank you.
But you see, a hooker is you can't appreciate it.
A woman of the night.
A courtesan gives you.
She's French.
She's French. Anyways, the man became quite obsessed with her, and he got rid of his family. He sold his business, right? She left, so he had to book a ship and travel miles and thousands of miles to reach her. And when he finally reached her, she was on a bed of mattresses, 100 mattresses high, and he had to climb up the mattress all the time, just reeking with desire.
Would the 100 mattresses be a metaphor, perhaps?
Perhaps. But anyways, he finally reaches her. He's finally achieved his desire. And then apparently, this is, I think, from the Gemara, apparently she emits a foul odor. Oh, God. Right? She emits a foul odor.
Didn't see that coming.
And all his desire, he realizes the illusion that it was all fake, it was all phony. And now just a simple foul smell brings him back to reality. That's why they call it the ultimate fraud. It pretends to have something and it has nothing.
You mean sexuality or
Anything,
enticement?
any desire. The food, anything you can't use.
The thing in the bakery?
Yeah, the thing in the bakery. When people have a desire for food, delicious, food, right? But it's so much better to have self-control. Self-control makes you have a skinny belly. You've got a skinny belly now.
I'm working on it, baby.
It's much better than it was, right?
I'm having lots of success, thank
beautiful,
God. Yeah.
beautiful. But yeah,
But can we get back to the bakery?
it's self-discipline, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and in everything, in everything that has to do with desire, you have to be able to hold yourself back, you know. Yeah, that's it.
That might be the first muscle to work on. Discipline.
Oh yeah. So one more story. This is from the Big Book of Jewish Humor.
Okay,
You read
great.
that? Yeah.
Great. I haven't spent my years studying that magnum opus.
So basically, there's a woman, and she's at the hairdresser, and she's got a giant diamond ring on her finger. And all the women are gathered around, just like they're gathered around the guy with his hand, but they're gathered around looking at her ring, right? And she says, it's an amazing ring. But, you know, like all famous jewelry, it has a curse, right? And what's the curse? My husband. Right? You know, that's the curse that it came with, right?
Yeah.
So anyways.
So what? So give me a quick summary, Dave, and then we'll go to a break.
Well, I mean, all it is that it's an illusion that that desires, illicit desires that are not pure, that are not good, these desires are fake. And when you finally realize it after, listen, you think cigarettes are attractive, you know, but finally, you know, after 25 years, it's no longer a joke anymore.
You know, he said he's sarcastic. For the lips of a strange woman drip honey. He's sarcastic.
Yeah, because you think, that's true. A strange woman.
Didn't realize that.
Your wife, who she dedicates herself 24 hours a day to you, but a strange woman, she comes and she's got like pretty lips.
Oh, it's not even saying a good-looking, bedazzled woman. It's saying just another woman.
Anyway, a strange woman. A strange woman is it's all of a sudden it's so attractive to you. You know.
That's fascinating. Okay, we got a little depth. We got a little depth in text here on drip honey and strange woman.
Right.
Okay, in the same phrase.
Right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is our first segment. We're on to our second segment, and now a word from our sponsor.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wisdom Show. This is our second segment, and we are back with our friend David Altman, who will enlighten us. Now, I don't want to say enlighten us. I will provide an explanation and a deeper insight into the text, and I invite you and encourage you to go online, buy a text, buy a comment. It's useless without a commentary, because I see it's a translation, and the whole concept here is unearthing every sentence is a riddle, and it's unearthing the riddle and then the answer to the riddle. And that's my style of analysis. And Dave, I think, is taking a different tone. He's giving I don't know how to say a drusha. I don't know how to say it. A deeper insight on a big picture within the text. Sounds good? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we go with Dave Altman for number two at the stab at the page.
All right, we're doing Mishlei, chapter 5 till chapter 5, 7, right? And 7 and 8. And now, my children, listen to me, do not stray from my words. Arrange your route at a distance from her and do not approach the door of her house. So we're talking strategies to avoid temptation, because temptation's pretty bad. Now,
Just a second. It's two things. Distance your way from her and do not come near the door of her house. It's redundant. So my first thing is we've got two phrases saying essentially the same thing.
distance from your door, and what's the other one?
Distance from your keep a distance and don't come near her house. If I were writing this in a legal style, it'd be more brief. But you see, to me that begs the question. I've thrown you off, but I'm trying to show the little depth in the text. But please don't pay attention to anything I say.
Well, I think distance from. Well, if they serve you with a what's it called when you can't
Subpoena?
When I'm not allowed to be around somebody.
Oh, restraining order.
Restraining. If I have
another one.
Let's say I have a restraining.
I don't want to
order.
talk about it.
So the restraining order would say, "Do not approach the door of her house," right?
Mm-hmm.
But it did. I don't think it would really concern arranging outside that. Like if you were on the street
They give a distance. My understanding of it is clear. They get 50 yards. They give a distance.
Yeah, well, you should keep a distance. You should. Anyways, the thing about temptation is what they're telling you is stay away from temptations. But both Bruce and I are not born religious, so we have both gone to various temptations. We've been through everything.
Would you say we were born spiritual? That's a cliche these days that people use. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. Were you born spiritual?
I was born spiritual, but I've certainly gone off the track, and I've certainly done bad things, and I've certainly gone off with bad people, not
like me. You're right.
But I think that's good in a way. I think it's good in a way because for instance, it's nice to say that women when they sing, women are a problem, right? But if you regularly hang out with women, you learn to restrain yourself. Someone who's never around women, who blocks himself from that temptation, when you're around her, you're going to be completely flustered. You're not going to know how.
I see.
You're not going to know how to proceed, right? But we have actually gone to the door of the bad woman, right? Mm-hmm. And met her on the street, right? Mm-hmm. And learned to say no, thank you. Right? Because ultimately, through life experience, you realize that this is not what you're looking for. You know what I mean?
It's a very interesting. Who's reading this? That's a very interesting perspective. I know it says the bad woman. I got it. I don't need to apologize or anything. The text says it. But the question is, who's the reader? Is the reader a person who comes from a community that they is based on the words of the Book of Proverbs, and the men and women are distanced from one another, or is the reader the person who's in a normal Western environment where there's affairs at the office all the time?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're different environments. Like we have a.
It might just be a generation ago and a generation now. It might be you compare two generations.
Yeah. We have a law in Judaism. It's called Kol Isha, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. It means you're not allowed to hear a woman sing, mm-hmm. and for the modern person that's atrocious. Mm-hmm. But for a person who's never been around a woman, mm-hmm. Like you take a young kid, he's brought up in,
or before the radio era.
Yeah, he's been brought up in a monastery. He's never seen a woman, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, he hears a woman sing. We are so desensitized. We've seen porno. We've seen all kinds of things. To us, the concept of avoiding hearing a woman sing is ridiculous because we are so jaded.
Just as the text saying the bad woman is also on its face is absurd.
Oh,
it's the same. It's the same point. I'm just giving another example. It's the same point. We should, as modern Westerners, we should recoil at the reference to the evil woman.
Well, I mean, it's not that she's evil. It's just that you're not desiring her on the proper level. You know, you're not like, you know, a woman is a great thing. I mean, God created them to be great, and men should love them. You know, and you know when you see a woman and all you can think of is her without her clothes on,
Oh,
right?
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? It's no great deal. You know.
We're talking about Frank Sinatra here. He's just all those songs they were horning out of their minds. Just
Well, there's a song I was just talking about it concerning that. You know, it's old Al Jolson song. I think.
Are you kidding?
Al Jolson. How you gonna keep 'em down on the farm after they seen Paris?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
it's a metaphor.
it's a metaphor.
Oh, man.
In other words, if you expose yourself, you know, to temptations, there's two ways of looking at it. You know, on one hand, you strengthen yourself. That's what they say, balachuvas. A regular Jew can't stand next to him even because he has conquered his Yetzer Hara, because he's experienced his Yetzer Hara and he knows he doesn't want it. You know what I mean? Well, the other guy is still under the illusion. You know, if I even go near it, I'm gonna be
Toasted.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm summarizing from what you're saying. Who's the reader? Because I get what the words are, but who's the reader? Is the reader the experienced Parisian, or is the man who's on the farm?
Well, I mean, the guy on the farm, when he goes to Paris, he's exposed to stuff he's never seen before. He's exposed to temptations that he's not equipped to deal with. He's not. His father should have been cluing him in, and his mother should have been cluing him in to what life is like. But they probably don't even know either. They're
on the farm.
They're on the farm, you know. But when the same thing. If you're a faith-based person and you try to teach your kids whatever your faith is, right? They don't necessarily. They're once they're out of their farm. You know, and they've seen Paris, what they think is Paris, right? Now the trick is, you have to make the kid. Yeah, if you're blissfully happy, none of this will attract you. You know what I mean? Like if I'm a very confident person and I'm blissful and I'm really happy and I'm involved in meetings.
The enticement won't grab you?
The enticement won't grab you because I'm constantly, like here they tell you should listen to your teachers. Like first of all, who's in an environment where you're constantly hearing words of wisdom? So you can, you know, the people who go to yeshiva or go into a school, they're constantly hearing words of wisdom.
To some degree, to a large degree, that's my agenda of the show. I can have a conversation about how it's screwed up, how defective the aging American president is in his imminent demise. But everyone's doing that. No one's talking wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to talk politics, and everyone's talking to make the same point. What's the vice president going to be like when he steps down the next couple months? Everyone's talking about that, but no one's talking about wisdom.
Yeah, it's certainly a topic that's not, that people are, you know, they go and it's funny, philosophy is well understood. You know, people do philosophy and they expect that they're going to get the same things, but it's not moral philosophy. When you take
that's a very good
Kant
point.
or
a very good point.
Whoever it is, you know, you're learning philosophy sort of in a sense devoid of morals.
If I were to have a guest who was a professor of philosophy at U of T and came in here, it wouldn't be fitting for the show.
Why?
That's not his area of expertise. Wisdom
is not his area.
If I were to have a chemical engineer...
And how is that possible, that wisdom isn't his thing? It's philosophy. That's what it should be.
Your definition of philosophy is different than my definition of philosophy. But hashing it out now, you know what? I'm reluctant to make a fool of myself by asserting my definition of philosophy. But I think we can agree, and it's arguable, that it's not it's not the science of wisdom or the literature of wisdom in philosophy,
No, no, and it's not more.
and maybe even theology.
It
doesn't-
only can come through religion, the morality, and understanding that's what gives you a happy life. You know, there's a show on TV. I was just watching it the other night. It's have you seen the show? There's the guy and he needs the kidney, and then it's a series.
It's a reality show or a
No,
fiction?
it's a sitcom,
Okay.
and it's with one of the girls from Two Broke Girls, and
I remember.
she has she's involved with this guy who needs a kidney, and she's going to offer him his kidney. And so somebody slanders her and says, "You're only doing it because you want to feel good about your life," right? Right? And then she goes, "No, that's not the reason I'm doing it." As if that's not a good reason. Oh my God! Like, I mean, if you can go talk about it. Look, if I can go exactly why a person jumps in front of a bullet is to save another person, right? And that could be the most meaningful thing in your life. I mean, that's so strong to save another person or to do something great like that. You know what I mean? It's so meaningful, and meaning is very important. People don't get how important meaning is. You know. Yeah, I'm just saying. He said the chutzpah that you think the chutzpah for you. You're only doing this. You because you have nothing going in your life, so you want to find some meaning. Yes, that is what you're trying to do.
Oh, isn't that it? Her kidney, which is, let's assume it's 100 out of 100 on the expense list. I didn't even know what list to put it on.
Yeah.
It's not lending someone bus fare.
No,
It's a kidney.
It's something you can be proud your whole life.
The accusation is she's only doing it to add meaning to her life.
Yeah, that was the accusation, and it's actually the proper thing. Yes, of course. If you have no meaning in your life, you should be doing meaningful things that will raise you up. You know, if a person is 5'2" and they do great acts of courage, they're like 7 feet tall. You know, you walk with your head upraised all the time by doing good deeds, you know, by doing noble things, you know. That's why superheroes are so popular, because they do noble and good things.
Noble. That's another one of those words that's not popular these days.
Yeah.
You even had to, in your sentence, qualify it with good, noble and good. You know what I mean? You had to, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we do? Oh, and break time, you think? Ladies and gentlemen, we have finished a second segment, and we will have a word from our sponsors and patiently await the third segment.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the mundane show, the amusing show, the wisdom show. And our guest, David Altman, will impart. It's not that we're imparting wisdom. We're fellow students along the road, and we just happen to have a shovel and a good mine in front of us, and we're bringing out the gold for you. David, take it away.
Thank you very much. Now we don't have these ear things.
It's the
on
headphone
now.
free- headphone free,
Oh, it's so. My goodness, I feel like a person now. It's an unbelievable.
Right.
It's an
I'm in touch.
unbelievable
I'm in
thing.
touch with myself. All right.
I want to talk about another concept. It's not just to be good, to be righteous, to be a hero, right? Those are all good. Those are all good things. But there's another word that's like vitally important to Judaism, and in fact, almost everything they do in Judaism is for purification.
You almost have to define purification.
Well, for instance,
I would say purity is what you
every
mean.
sacrifice in the temple.
Yeah.
Every sacrifice, I mean, not every sacrifice, no. I mean, a lot of them were meant for purification rites. You know what I mean? You had to purify yourself. If you were tuma, which is impure, right? You would have to go to the mikvah, for instance, right?
You've got so many $5 words in there that we got a footnote. We got a footnote every sentence. You think people know what our audience doesn't necessarily know what you're talking about?
Well, one of the
I barely
major
know what you're talking about.
purification rituals in Judaism is what you do is you take off all your clothes and you go in living water, right?
A ritualarium.
And this was in here. They were talking about the living water, right?
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that.
Living water. Living water is a mikvah. And what is the point of a mikvah? A mikvah, to me, I believe that the purpose is to recreate you in the womb. When a person is floating in the amniotic fluid, right? The baby that comes out is so adorably pure and good that you can't help kissing it, even though it's bald and ugly. But you love it, right? You love it because it came from Shemayim, from heaven, right? It's been floating in this amniotic sac and it comes out pure. So we try to recreate that purity in Judaism.
It's interesting. It's also
And
in the words.
We also go to the mikvah to purify ourselves.
And it's also a kever and a mikvah, same word, and nikeva. It's all the same word.
Woman, right?
Yeah. It's all the same associations.
But very people go around trying to be pure, and in fact, it's sort of negative connotations to be pure. But pure is.
Oh, that's interesting. There's a negativity to it.
Now here's a story. Let's say you have a 90-year-old woman, and she's filled with wrinkles. She's filled with wrinkles, and she's a bitter old crow, right? Nobody wants to kiss her.
By the way, letters to Altman, not Gilboard. Go on.
But at the same time, you have a 90-year-old woman, well loved by her 16 children, okay? And she's so sweet and good. No matter that she's wrinkled and she's whatever it is, everybody wants to kiss her. Everybody wants to kiss her, you know?
Yeah.
And the same thing applies to all purity, because purity doesn't degrade. When something is pure, it's eternal. It doesn't. Let's say, for instance, you have a beautiful girl. The second she's ugly, I'm not interested, right? But if I had been focusing on purity, like here it is in Mishlei, the big line is.
Wait, what's the chapter and verse?
We're talking. It's 12, 14, 19.
Chapter 5, verse 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, it all has to do with, and it's funny how it connects it to water, because it says, drink water from your cistern, and flowing water from your wellspring. Number one is, why does it tell me to drink it from my cistern, and living water from my wellspring? What's it implying here? First of all, it's implying that I shouldn't want anybody else's stuff, right? I want to drink water from my cistern. I don't want to be jealous. I don't care. You know, I have many rich relatives, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm happy. I wish they would have more. I'm interested in my environment. They call it your 4 amos, Dalit amos, right? That's where I want to live. And when it says, your well springs will spread outward, streams of water into the thoroughfares. The love of your family will be yours alone. And here's it. Look, Your wife will be like a beloved gazelle attractive to you. You will find comfort at her breast at every time of need. In her love, you will always find gratification. She will never get old to you. She will always be good and pure because you've maintained that pure relationship. You know what I mean?
Or you've built up the muscle
built it up.
of appreciating and detecting and embracing purity.
That's right. But the husband that goes off and he meets a lot
Goes
of
to
these-
Paris,
goes to Paris, right?
where they have those bakeries.
He'll never learn to appreciate his wife. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
because he doesn't
fascinating.
like her for the real root of it, which is purity. You know, and
Purity sounds to me like it's spirituality.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, for instance, when I was a kid, I remember thinking to myself that I never want to grow up. I never want to grow up. I want to always maintain.
I can't. I'm 63. Trust me.
I always want to
don't
maintain
wanna grow up
it, but the corruption of life
Yeah.
and the troubles of life. You know, eventually, it wears down on you, and you lose that sense of wonderment and goodness that you have as a child, and that's purity. You know what I mean?
Innocence.
Innocence.
We could almost make a chart of English words that are related to purity to make the point.
Now, I have another point to make.
Okay,
right?
go ahead.
Now, does innocence,
Yeah.
is that connected to children?
Damn right. Yeah, absolutely, 1,000,000%.
And yet, the rabbis say that a child doesn't develop good qualities. I mean, the desire to good until he's 13. Before 13, you think they're so good and they're so pure, but all they are is taking. All they do is take. There's no giving. There's no giving. And consequently, once they turn 13, they can be little rats and they can grow worse and worse and worse. But mind you, they were so beautiful and sweet as children. But that's not purity, because you have to be able to protect your purity. That's real purity, is being able to protect it. As a child, you have it naturally. You come from heaven with this delicious smell to you. Everybody wants to smell you, or a little kid. Oh, he's so cute. Your cheek is, even though you're a little bald thing, your cheek is
It's made for
they
grabbing.
grab you, and you're so loved. And what have you earned? Nothing. You haven't earned anything. You're just, all you are is a milk sucker, and I mean, you've offered nothing to the world yet, right? Now the trick is to be able to keep that beautiful purity as a child and protect it as an adult, so it doesn't end, so you can keep it.
You want to hear an
my thing.
illustration? I listen to the comedy station out of Hamilton. I forget what it's called. So a comedian, I don't remember his name, but it's beautiful. He said we were so poor when we were kids that, you got to hear this joke. It illustrates what you're saying. We were so poor when we were kids. I had a dream that I had a big juicy steak. I wake up in the morning, I tell my mother, I dreamed that I had a big juicy steak, and she hit me. I said, "Ma, why'd you hit me? You didn't share it with your brother." So that's purity.
That's
She
how you
she wants him to be more pure and share. Okay.
And also, I notice, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I noticed that as much as I defend being a Bala Tshuva, which means somebody who's tasted various things, tasted forbidden fruits, and yet realizes that's not really his thing, right?
Yeah.
Not really his thing. But I do notice, and I'm just wondering if you notice, but I noticed that
Here's the point where I lie. Go on.
people who are brought up in religious families, right, who never do the impure things, who never knock on the door of the prostitute, who always stay sweet and are smart, they seem to be a lot purer than me. Like, I don't know if you've met them.
For sure.
I'm not talking all religious people, because
we're talking generalities.
Because some religious people can be so bittered and they went into it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the cream of the crop. I'm talking about the cream of the crop. The religious people who are pure right from the beginning, I'm almost embarrassed how impure I am when I stand next to them.
I understand what you mean.
I'm almost embarrassed.
I for sure understand. I'm on my better behavior. I behave better and I'm more polite when I'm with a guy who is religious as a child than a guy who is like myself.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a blending in.
Yeah, and
in a jungle thing.
he's protected himself and he's protected his purity, and there's a lot to be said about that. Although given a choice, I still would have gone down my trail. I still would have gone down my trail, but at the same time, I'm jealous at the sweetness, and because I want to be pure too. I want to be sweet. I want to be good. I don't want to have raging thoughts in my head. I want to be a
Bakeries.
I'm a superhero. That's what I decided many years ago, that I'm going to be a superhero in life. And when I see wrong, I'm going to right it. That's what gives me my inclination to live.
I'm gonna walk on the other side of the street where the bakery isn't.
We're gonna avoid the bakery.
Avoid
right?
the bakery.
Avoid the bakery.
You want to summarize, and we'll go to ice cream news.
Oh well, I'm.
What do you think?
Yeah, basically we're talking about the essence of a good life, a religious. I guess you don't have to be religious, to be good and want to do good and want to be a superhero, want to do right.
If you said moral, I think it would be more easily absorbed.
It sounds boring, moral though. See, that's the problem. Moral sounds.
I don't know
boring.
what the advertising executive brain says that the Western person will appreciate this day. These days, if you want to talk about elevating someone as a person, and Proverbs uses moral philosophy. They use that phrase.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what there may not be a trendy, honest. Every word that describes the good person may be fraught with sarcasm in today's goody two shoes.
Yeah.
There may be that word may have been drummed out of society.
Yeah. But if you're a man, I think if you train your
It's a sad point we're making.
If you train your son to respect women, all women,
Yeah.
all human beings,
Yeah.
I think they're less likely to go down the path of using women or being used or anything like that, because they have respect for them, right from the start. If you teach your child to have, this is a human being, somebody's daughter, somebody's, you know what I mean? You have to have deep respect. They have, they had on Netflix, one of the shorts?
Yeah.
They had a Jewish James Bond.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, the villainous Pussy Galore, she comes into the room and wants to seduce James Bond, right? But he's Jewish James Bond, so he says, listen, honey, are you okay to do this? Maybe you've got some problems. I'll sit and I'll listen to your problems. Right. James Bond, he'd be into the sack, he'd be over. But here's Jewish James Bond. He's worried about her. He's worried about, he still wants.
He's a gentleman.
He still wants what he wants.
Yeah.
But he'll be a gentleman about it because he respects women.
There you go. We have now a word from Netflix. Okay. Oh, and I'm just kidding. What shall we segue to
The ice cream wars?
Yeah. So last week I have two editorials, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dave, by the way. We have two editorials of news that's happened in the last couple of days. So very brief recap. A committee in Vermont, I don't want to, the word isn't sue, launched an offensive campaign to have citizens in the so-called disputed territories in Israel, the so-called West Bank and Judea and Samaria and Gaza, unbelievably, to boycott eating the Ben & Jerry's ice cream. And it made international news, and on last week's show we brought in several other high-end ice creams. That Haagen-Dazs was amazing, because if they're launching an economic warfare assault on the nation of Israel, then we have a responsibility to fight back. So since then, there's a firm or a group called Sharut Din, Service of the Law, and they did this. Israeli Law Center, that's what they translate, moves to seize Ben & Jerry's rights to manufacture ice cream in Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank, after announced boycott by Vermont company. This the Sharuta Din informed the food giant Unilever that since Unilever has now abandoned its trademark Ben & Jerry's in certain areas of Israel that it calls occupied Palestinian territories, Sharuta Din will control the Ben & Jerry's name for use in those abandoned areas and form a new company to manufacture and distribute ice cream under the Ben & Jerry's name. That's
They can still, they're going to
That's what
steal
they're
their
telling-
name. They're going to steal their name.
And because it's been abandoned, they're not stealing. They're picking it up. They found it on the
Oh,
side of the
that's
road.
kind of weird.
I never would have imagined that. Sharuta Din noted that Unilever has no qualms about selling its product in other regions deemed occupied by the international community, such as Northern Cyprus, Western Sahara, and Tibet. The letter claims that Ben & Jerry's targeting of just Israel for boycott underscored that the company's policy was motivated by hatred of Jews. So that is chapter 2 in Ice Cream Wars. Now, chapter 3, this happened a few weeks ago, okay? Salato, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, a Toronto gelato shop found in Israel hit with deluge of negative reviews. So what's the news item? The news item is that it's not a boycott, but someone is noting that online there's a heavy amount of impressions saying don't eat there, it's bad stuff, but there are people who haven't been there. A gelato company found in Israel is getting deluge of negative reviews that have little relation to gelato. As an example, one of the comments, great if you want a side of apartheid.
Huh.
And another one says culturally appropriated gelato. Meanwhile, a positive review said, let's not mix political views that irrationally and unethically affect people's livelihood. Ice Cream Wars, and I can't think of anything wimpier. The reason I'm highlighting it, I can't think of anything wimpier than combat over the ice cream field.
Right.
So that's what's motivating. There's a sarcasm in my I'm bringing out a sarcastic, dismissive spin on this, but it's a much better way to fight a war.
So you know my take on this. I've been talking to you about this. That the problem is, if I were a Palestinian and they were doing this for my benefit, I would have to understand that they're coming from a demented moral point of view.
This is what I say. It's the leadership.
It's a demented, and even I'm talking even for a Palestinian. For instance, what you have in Vermont. I wonder if anybody's aware of this. By the way, Vermont is the home of Bernie Sanders, the most liberal of the communists.
He's a leftist, not a liberal.
Leader of, sort of leftist views.
For sure.
Right? And Ben & Jerry as well are, their whole thing was to lead the charge, the moral charge in the world. The problem
This
is
is Dave's opinion.
the problem is they're advocating Black Lives Matter in a state that's 97% white. Vermont is the whitest state in America. 97%. You can go through your day with not seeing a black person. You can go through months without seeing a black person, and yet they are the ones leading the charge at Black Lives Matter. They are the ones leading the charge against the Palestinians. My take on it is that they are so white that they are ashamed of being white. They're so white that they're ashamed of being white, that they have to take all these liberal causes. You have to see where it's coming from. Why doesn't Bernie Sanders live in a city that's ethnically? Why does he choose to live in a city that's 97% white? Lead the charge for the ethnic people.
They use the phrase white guilt.
White guilt.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. So I'm just saying when your support comes from weird morality, you have to understand it's not a great way to be.
That's an interesting insight. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Owen, we're going to wrap up the show, the Wisdom Show, hosted by yours truly, Bruce Gilbert. Our special guest, David Altman. David, have you enjoyed yourself today?
I did. I enjoyed myself.
Will you come back again?
Yes, I will.
Will you tell all your friends that they should appear as guest presenters on the Wisdom
I'm
Show?
hoping you get 100,000 viewers, okay?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
hoping. I think there's no reason you shouldn't.
So this is how you do it. This is how you do it. You go to YouTube. You look under their little search, their little magnifying glass symbol that's to search. You look for Tom's Radio, T-O, capital T, capital O, capital M, small z, Tom's Radio. You look under the horizontal banner under videos. And under videos, you find the Wisdom Show. And that's the one you look at to see our past episodes and this episode and to send to your friends and so on and so forth. Please view it. And please, what do we do? Hit like and share and subscribe. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been our 6th episode of The Wisdom Show. We're growing and we're conquering the world bit by bit. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Bruce Gilbert. Have a lovely day.